Have you ever wondered why the liars rise? Why the ones who manipulate, who charm, who deceive, seem to win again and again while you stay behind? You tell yourself to be patient, to do the right thing, to wait for your moment. But what if that moment never comes? What if you've spent your life playing by rules that were never made to protect you? You try to be kind. You try to stay calm. You try to hold on to your dignity while the world rewards those who have none. And still, you wonder, why do they win? Why do they rise while you disappear? Maybe you've mistaken silence for strength. Maybe you've confused goodness with safety. But what if your obedience isn't virtue? What if it's just a story you were told to keep you small? This is the part no one says out loud. The good are left behind. They told you to be nice, to stay soft, to wait your turn. And you believed them. You stayed small, hoping someone would notice. You stayed quiet, thinking it meant strength. But you've watched the liars rise, the selfish get rich, the cruel become kings. And you? You waited. You waited for fairness, for recognition, for the moment it would finally be your turn. But it never came, because this world does not reward goodness. It rewards performance, strategy, disguise. It rewards masks, not truth, force, not empathy, noise, not depth. And maybe, somewhere inside, you've known this for a long time, but you didn't want to believe it. Because if it's true, then everything you were taught was a lie, and everything you've lost wasn't an accident. What if you've misunderstood power your whole life? You thought it meant control over others. But Nietzsche, he said it starts with control over yourself. The will to power isn't cruelty. It's the courage to shape the world instead of waiting for it to reward you. And the ones who rise, they act. They want. Openly. They move without waiting for permission. You were taught that wanting too much makes you selfish, that asserting yourself makes you arrogant. So you learned to dim, to apologize for existing, to survive by becoming invisible. But Machiavelli, he didn't just describe tyrants. He described survivors. He said the world doesn't reward honesty. It rewards strategy. The lion uses force. The fox uses deception. And the ones who thrive, they wear both skins. These people aren't strong because they're evil. They're strong because they aren't afraid of appearing evil if it gets them what they need. You cling to goodness like it's armor. But maybe it's just another cage, because power doesn't belong to the loudest or the strongest. It belongs to the one who dares to act, even if it means being misunderstood, even if it means being feared. You're sitting in the room, fluorescent lights, the smell of coffee, the low hum of a projector. He speaks. Everyone listens. You know he's lying. Everyone knows. But no one moves. He smiles. It lands. The room nods. And just like that, he wins again. Not because he's right, not because he's good, but because he knows how to play. You feel it, the slow churn in your gut. A kind of nausea, but deeper. A familiar hum beneath the skin. You want to speak. You almost do. But the moment passes, like it always does. You lower your eyes. You tighten your jaw. You call it professionalism. But what it really is silence. And that silence didn't start in the boardroom. It started somewhere else, somewhere quieter, and far more dangerous. A dinner table, a slammed door, a voice raised. Yours, buried. You were young, but not stupid. You watched what happened to the ones who talked back. You learned that being good meant being quiet. That safety was earned by disappearing. That love was something you had to deserve. So now, when the liar wins, you let him. Not because you agree, but because you're still playing by the rules you were given as a child. Be liked. Be polite. Be invisible. You don't just fear conflict. You fear becoming the person who was punished for being loud. You fear becoming the thing you were told would make you unlovable. And he, the one who wins, he doesn't carry that fear. He carries something else. Not confidence, not cruelty. Permission. Permission to want, to speak, to take. You were taught that was wrong. He was taught that was survival. So when he walks out of the room with what you wanted, it's not just a loss. It's a reenactment. You're back at the table, back in the silence, back in the moment you stopped being real and started being safe. And every time it happens, you vanish a little more. But here's the thing. The room isn't just his. It never was. The story can end differently, but not if you keep playing dead and calling it dignity. This isn't just about him or them or the world. This is about you, the part of you that gave up, the part that sat down quietly when you wanted to scream, that nodded when everything in you was saying no, the part of you that wrapped yourself in goodness because it was safer than being real. Because real meant dangerous. Real meant too much. So you dulled your voice. You smiled when you were scared. You called it being the bigger person. But what it really was fear. You were never weak. You were conditioned to survive, to be small, to avoid punishment, rejection, abandonment. You built your cage out of praise and restraint. And now, every time you want to speak, you check the room first. Every time you want to move, you wait for a signal that never comes. Every time you want more, your shame wakes up first. But here's what no one told you. Wanting isn't selfish. It's alive. It's the instinct to exist, to shape, to choose. And the longer you bury it, the more you will confuse obedience with integrity. You think you're good because you suffer silently. But real goodness doesn't shrink. It doesn't abandon your truth to protect someone else's comfort. There is a voice inside you that still remembers, the version of you who wasn't afraid to want, the child who said no and then got punished for it. They never disappeared. They're just waiting for you to stop apologizing for being here. And when you stop, the world will shake. Not because you became cruel, but because you became whole. You've spent your whole life waiting to be chosen, to be rewarded for doing the right thing, to be seen for staying quiet, for staying kind, for staying small. But they don't reward that. They reward masks, noise, leverage. And the people who win, they don't wait to be seen. They name themselves. They speak without permission. They take up space without apology. They don't ask the world to love them first. They act like they belong, and the world follows. You keep hoping someone will hand you the moment, that the door will open, and you'll finally be invited in. But that door, it opens from the inside. And the truth is, you're the one who's been keeping it shut. Because stepping through it means letting go of who you were trained to be. It means breaking the script, not gently, not politely, but violently, with clarity. It means showing your hunger, your power, your boundaries. It means becoming everything you were told made you unworthy of love, selfish, difficult, too much. But listen, you don't need to be liked. You need to be free. And freedom doesn't come from waiting, from shrinking, from hoping someone saves you. It comes when you decide, I'm not playing dead anymore. Not in meetings, not in relationships, not in my own mind. You are not here to perform goodness. You are here to become real. And real doesn't ask for permission. It asks for truth. And yours has waited long enough. You've been trained to believe that goodness is silence, that virtue is shrinking, that power is corruption. But now, you know better. Now you've seen the system. You've seen how the worst win, not because they're the strongest, but because they stopped waiting for permission to exist. And somewhere inside you, you've already started to remember who you were before the world taught you to hide, before the apology, before the mask, before the silence. That version of you isn't gone. They're waiting, not to be rescued, but to be reclaimed. And the choice isn't whether the world changes. It's whether you do, not into someone else, but into yourself. The one who speaks with weight, who stands with full presence, who no longer begs to be understood before becoming real. The door is there. It always has been. But no one's going to open it for you. You do that with your voice, with your will, with your refusal to keep playing dead. This isn't about becoming like them. It's about becoming whole. And if you've made it this far, then something in you is already waking up. Something is reaching for the doorknob. And when you walk through, you won't just be good. You'll be free.